Releasing just a little over a year after the incredible Skate 2, EA and Blackbox's third mainline installment to the series was met with great praise at launch in May of 2010. Yet its legacy among fans is a divided one, as the game earned itself a second wind in the years to come thanks to the rise in Let's Play content discovering all of the gooey glitches and broken aspects of the game, while still being able to maintain its cult status among gamers and skaters alike, even a decade post-launch, as this would be not only the final skate game for a really long time, but the beginning of a disastrous drought for the genre of skateboarding video games. So yeah, I can see why this game is often heralded as the final proof of God's existence, but if you were here for yesterday's video when I talked about Skate 2, you may recall that I had this to say at the end of the review. I'll admit, I have not been a fan of Skate 3 since the day it launched. Yeah, that is honestly the truth of how I've viewed this great series of games for such a long time now, with Skate 3, in my opinion, being a significant step down from Skate 2, and an obvious reason for why this series came to an end and has been dormant ever since. But look, I formed that opinion a very long time ago now, and I've not thoroughly returned to the game since. So I'm going to give this the benefit of the doubt today, and for the sake of critique, I'm hoping that this game can prove me wrong. We've left San Vanalona for the new city of Port Carverton, a welcoming home for skaters of all walks of life to express themselves across the various areas of the map. From the grounds of the university and local suburbs, the urban sprawl of plazas and parking garages, all the way to the rough and tumble quarry and industrial district for those not shy of more sketchy terrain. Our skater, known as The Legend, is back at it again with a new crazy stunt. As if jumping from the top of a dam wasn't suicidal enough, this time we launch off of the stadium roof and over a shark for our new board sponsor. Oh. And I guess he's dead. Roll the credits.
Thought that through. Not only did he not think that through, he may never think again. He blew his face out.
Our main man Redder is back and decides that we need to build up our own skate brand by forming a team, getting footy, winning contests and selling boards for the victory. It's a basic setup but continues everything fine. The Creator Skater feature has had somewhat of a visual overhaul but is otherwise untouched aside from some new merch options. If you're not familiar with how the games work by now, then we've got an extensive skate tutorial hosted by Coach Frank, better known as Jason Lee, making his return to the gaming scene after Project 8. And the Alvin and the Chipmunks games, I guess. Yeah, and if that doesn't set the tone for this game out of the gate, then I don't know what will.
You're gonna get good, and if you don't, I'm gonna break your board! Coach Frank.
It's a silly character, iconic and a bit moronic, but a lot of fun to say the least. But yeah, it does set you up for the rest of this game, in my opinion. While still grounded in the simulation elements with further fine-tuned board control, the additions of new technical tricks, hell yeah, we can dark slide now, which is awesome. Even the off-board control has been massively improved with more slick and finessed movement, the ability to run and caveman to gain a little extra speed. Even bailing out, characters don't just go limp and pass away the moment their feet leave the board, instead rolling away from failed attempts while still retaining some momentum that allows you to quickly pop back up onto your board and try again. All of this is very impressive, and I've got to admit, it blows Skate 2 out of the water. This game feels in-fucking-credible to play. Everything just works and flows so naturally, and with the increased difficulty options in the hardcore mode, which turns off a lot of the auto-magnetizing to rails and stuff like that, this is probably the closest you can get to appreciate the skill of this sport without risking a serious head injury. Which is why when I first played this back in the day, and even still now that I'm replaying it, man, I just really wish that Skate 3 took things just a little bit more seriously. Oh boy, I can just tell that this is going to be the divisive point of the entire video for a lot of people, so let's just get it out of the way, shall we? Skate 3 is a goofy kind of game, and that's totally fine. I'm not the fun police. Nothing cracks me up more than crazy ragdoll physics, throwing your avatar off of buildings, and just being a stupid idiot. I get that, and it's part of the reason why I have so many great memories committing in Hall of Meat over the years with my mates. But this time it seems that Skate 3 is in on the joke, and now that it's trying to be funny, for me anyway, it's just not. Hall of Meat mode has grown from a mere slam statistic into a fleshed out background mechanic, and now it's a direct part of the game's progression with challenges popping up all over the map, and I'm not a fan. Not only does it take away the fun being told how you need to do these things, but the requirement really burns out interest on this very quickly. And it's a shame because I feel like that this is the game's greatest weakness overall. I find that playing number 3 just doesn't hook me in like the other two. Yeah, I can still get invested, I enjoy the creative aspect of doing tricks and making videos as I always do, but I just never find myself getting lost in time with the vibes, and there is just a mess of reasons as to why. I think that after 3 games of the same format, 4 if you include Skate It on the Wii, it's all starting to feel a bit samey. I mean, they understood that with Pro Skater back in the day and started to move it in another direction to mix things up and keep things fresh. But where Skate 3 falls a little short in my opinion is getting a little mixed up with its new direction. These games aren't really known for the story, obviously. It's just background noise, but there is still purpose to our objectives, reasons for meeting and interacting with the featured pros, and an end goal for the career mode. From the moment your feet hit the board, the game is opened up and you've got all your traditional challenges to earn points or skateboards sold, and every now and then you might unlock a special event which is just more of the same. It feels like things only really happen because of the genre format. Pros appear briefly more out of obligation than actually providing the game with substantial interest or direction, and that reeks of later Pro Skater games for me. It's a paycheck at this point, not a passion. And if they're not invested, then why should I be? Leading this game to feel a little aimless at times. But look, it's not all bad though, as 3 introduces some new modes which feature heavily, including 1-Up, which is an evolution on the game of Skate, trying to copy each trick. Now we've got to 1-Up the opponent's high score in each area, and this is a lot of fun. Own the Spot is back better than ever with some really unique terrain, but Own the Lot takes things a step further by offering upwards of 10 or so challenges in each part of the map. Many of the tricks here play out much like snapping photos for the magazines, which can now be owned or killed by doing a more impressive stunt, but the real fun and torture of these is the trick list, where you're given a time limit to land multiple challenging stunts within the set area. And man, these were the bane of my existence as a young teen. For those of you who know the dreaded Burbertron, know all too well how hardcore you need to be to nail some of these. It's damn hard, man. I've had many a cry over this mission in particular, but holy fuck, I finally did it and got my 100% on this game. Thank Christ. Now I never have to play it again. As difficult as some of these objectives may be, especially going for the tougher tricks, there are a lot of fun challenges in this game, especially when it comes to the team stuff, which adds a new layer to competitions. Right from the very start, we recruit new team members as we progress to rep our new skate brand, the Mole Grabbers. Now that's a team you can bank on. You can pick from a small selection of default characters or go all in and flesh out each one of them to your heart's content, and they will often pop up in the different events around the map. Many of the competitions, for example, are team-based, meaning that you need to work together to win, which at surface value might sound like a terrible idea playing with AI teammates, but they do actually do a decent job of keeping up. In fact, in certain environments where I'm maybe not as strong with my ability, I've actually been carried by the computer player on more than one occasion. But the real focus of this team stuff is for the online community, grabbing some friends, completing and competing in challenges against each other online to work through career missions together. And I think that's really cool. Looking back on it, the online community fostered by these games was always really great, and I'm so glad that EA recognised this as an integral part of the experience, allowing players to design their own graphics for their teams, go online to compete or jam together in multiplayer, upload their best moments to the skate reel, which in fact, the community for this has remained active well beyond the game's lifespan. It's just incredible to see, and definitely one of the highlights of Skate 3, even all these years later. There is a reason that this one holds such a strong place in the hearts of many people, and it's expressing creativity within that fun, accepting community of like-minded people that was the big selling point here. It is a shame that there was no local multiplayer without DLC, however. Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer and a strange decision, especially as time goes on and these online-only experiences slowly get culled from existence. The biggest shame of that though is losing the community creations and probably Skate 3's greatest achievement. Create a park. Yes, it's finally here. From very early on in the game, we've got access to a customizable skate park with a bunch of different pieces to build ramps and levels, with a whole lot more objects from around the world to be unlocked by playing the game, and this is awesome. While I wasn't really into the player community back in the day, I was, antisocial, I loved downloading the maps that other people had created. It was a really neat addition to number 2, being able to drag objects around, set up custom spots, and then upload them for others to try and own with a high score, so this is an obvious evolution on that. You can create anything you like with this tool, from the most basic to the highly fleshed out recreation of a classic Pro Skater level. Man, as soon as I unlocked this old factory location, I just knew that I had to try my hand at recreating the warehouse, and you know what? With the right pieces and about an hour of time to kill, I think I did a damn good job on this, I must say. Unfortunately, there are a few awkward sections that went a little bit wrong. These tools are extremely precise, for better or worse, but ultimately very, very impressive. Dare I say, the best creator park tool that I have ever seen. A close second would be the Pro Skater 1+2 remake from 2020. With the same amount of time and effort, I was able to put together a recreation of the Los Angeles stage from Pro Skater 3, but it's a lot less polished, mostly blocked out with coloured objects, while Skate 3 offers an absurd collection of pieces, all with full placement control, colour and thematic options, interactable items like those found out in the main world, so that even once you've finished building, you can still get inventive and think up some new tricks. This is all really cool, but it takes a decent level of understanding of your tools to be able to make something fun and functional. Like I said, this may look great, but playing it is another story. As basic as it is, there is still something really fun to me about making your own spots out within the larger open world. We can drop objects wherever we please now, which makes this a lot easier to do. Both this and the Creator Park lean heavily on the concepts that Proving Ground attempted to introduce a few years earlier, but embarrassingly under-delivered with. Now that we do have all of these controls though, it is kind of a shame that we can't upload these smaller spots for other players to own. Especially given that the world of Port Carverton represents my final big gripe with this game. This map, in my opinion, just is not up to standard. I don't know. I feel like I'll probably be alone on this one, but I just find Sand Van as a single sprawling landscape a lot more enjoyable to explore than these 3 separated world segments. There is something great about going from the top of the map all the way to the bottom and seeing your environment change throughout, and we just don't get that here. All of the street stuff is exclusive to the city area, all of the gnarly terrain is by the harbour, and the downhill section has you hitting a dead end at the bottom of the map significantly faster, with not a whole lot else to see in between. I just find it that little bit less immersive, which is then amplified by a lack of some other details. Skaters are welcome in Port Carverton, so there are no restricted zones guarded by security. That's one of those little real-life details that really grounded the experience of the prior games, and now with the more advanced movement tech, skating such terrain would be all the more interesting to play. There are also no pools or other interactive environment elements to discover and adapt to. Graphically, I must give praise as the game is much more bright and vibrant, though you could also argue that losing the gritty visuals is a sign of the game losing its edge, which for me falls in line with some of the other changes that we've seen here. Listen, there are still plenty of interesting spots to skate, and being able to plonk down objects makes it easier to turn otherwise dull areas into miniature skate havens. But yeah, the map thing, I just feel like it's totally going to boil down to a matter of preference, so I'm really interested to hear what people think. San Vanalona or Port Carverton? Let me know with a comment below. Having said all of that though, and having finally revisited this game, I can confidently say that this is still as great as it ever was. Everything is still so much fun, but don't get me wrong when I say this, I do kind of feel like this is still even just a minute step backwards for the franchise, especially in regards to presentation. While I can only applaud the control advancements, as it's probably the best feeling skateboarding game to play next to Underground 2 or maybe even the Pro Skater remake, the game deciding that it wants to be in on the joke forces me to be unable to take it seriously anymore, which is what I enjoyed about the series up until now. It's a grounded, reality-based skate sim. Sure, there were some crazy video game moments, of course, but they come and go. They're not supposed to be the focus, in the spotlight for the entire game, and I feel like that's why I was never as big on this game as the others. Maybe I just don't know how to have fun. Perhaps playing as a slab of meat will make things more fun. Woo! Look at him go! Catch that gnarly air, dude!
It's just a little airborne. It's still good. It's still good.
Good.
I know.
I want to sing from the rooftops that this is still a must-play game, one of the greatest skateboarding titles still to this day, but I would have to call it a step down from the previous game, meaning that Skate 3 gets 7 out of 10. It does make me sad knowing that this game's legacy, for all of the amazing stuff that it achieved, is ultimately going to be that of a parody of itself thanks to the Let's Play community. I mean, don't get me wrong, this shit can be fucking hilarious, but the fact that it led to the game getting reprinted and re-released says a lot as we enter that weird age of intentionally broken games for the sake of online attention, something which I was never a fan of. And in my personal experiences over the years, I've never really had that many issues with Skate. In fact, the only time I encountered a genuine game-breaking bug was on this playthrough, and it only occurred once for a brief moment. So because this is everyone's main perception of the Skate franchise these days, it's become my greatest fear for the future of this series. With Skate 4 officially announced and now in development for a little while, already completing playtesting phases, I just really hope that they can deliver us another grounded experience instead of the botched nonsense that appeals to the ADHD attention span. The only thing I've wanted for all these years is just another great instant classic of a skateboarding game. So I just hope that the future of this franchise can be a return to form for the skate games that I fell in love with. And that's all of the Skate franchise that I can possibly cover. For now, anyway, until Skate 4 releases in the future. But this wasn't the end for the skate sim genre, as in the franchise's absence, 2 new competitors would rise from the ashes. Those being Skater XL and Session. Neither of which I've played until now. So be sure to tune in tomorrow when we take a look, but until then, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and remember to share with your friends on social media. I'm Square Eyed Jack, and I hope you have a great fucking day. Thanks for watching.